Coming up,
investigators have worked on this case tirelessly to get an answer for the Gutierrez family, and to be able to provide them with that, to provide them with some sort of closure, I think they feel really relieved at this point.
For Vault Studios, I'm Reed Redmond. You're listening to The Daily Crime. In June of 1986, 4-year-old Jessica Gutierrez was abducted from her family's home in Lexington, South Carolina.
All the evidence that we have points to the early morning hours. Someone entered the residence through a broken window, ended up taking the child from her bed and exiting out the front door. And the child has not been seen since.
It's a case we covered on The Daily Crime back in July, one that investigators said was solvable.
I asked the investigator straight on, do you think this case will be solved? And he said yes.
What we're hoping is that with the 35th anniversary and the coverage that we're getting is that people will see this and it may spark something in their past that they remember that, again, they may have discounted years ago, but now they think, hey, this may have something to do with it. So we're really hoping that it can generate some new and some fresh leads for us.
They just hope that getting her story out and keeping it out and helping people remember will, at some point, let them know what happened to Jessica.
It may be the piece that we're looking for that can solve the puzzle that we need. So if anybody has any information, please call, please let us know.
Investigators now say they've solved that puzzle.
Tonight, a North Carolina man has been arrested in connection with the disappearance and murder of 4-year-old Jessica Gutierrez.
Eleanor Tabone, reporter with WLTX in Columbia, South Carolina. Thanks for joining me.
Absolutely, Reed. Thanks for having me.
We actually covered this case on The Daily Crime back in July, right after the 35th anniversary of when Jessica Gutierrez disappeared. And the quote we actually used as the title of that episode was, "It's a solvable case." Now, 6-7 months later, we have an arrest. But before we talk about that, fill us in on the background here. What happened back in 1986?
Yeah, Reed, June 6, 1986 in Lexington, in the dead of night, a 4-year-old by the name of Jessica Gutierrez disappeared. So investigators believe that she was carried out of her mobile home and kidnapped. And that, the mother woke up the next day, Jessica's mother woke up the next day, and she was frantic. Obviously, you can't find your 4-year-old. And that's when the case moved forward. She reported her as a missing person. And that's when police got involved. And, here we are more than 30 years later.
Right. This is a case that has haunted a community for more than 3 decades. Can you talk about some of the ways this case has impacted folks in the Lexington County area?
Absolutely. So if you think about it, nearly 36 years later, at the time, that's when Ronald Reagan was in office. Oprah Winfrey was about to debut her first show. So just thinking how long ago that was, and it just made such an impact on the community. This girl was known by friends and neighbors. Her mother was known within the community. And for a small town to have such a scary thing happen to a 4-year-old, just at home asleep, it frightened the community, as you think it would. And this case has been followed by, reporters and people from my newsroom for years. So to be able to be here now with an answer, it must feel really great for the community to be here.
A cold case in the Midlands that was open for more than 30 years appears to have been solved, according to deputies. 61-year-old Thomas McDowell was arrested and charged with the kidnapping and murder of Jessica Gutierrez.
36 years later, Thomas McDowell has been arrested in Raleigh, North Carolina for suspicion of the kidnapping and murder of 4-year-old Jessica Gutierrez in 1986.
You mentioned we do have an arrest now. Tell us about the man who's been arrested, Thomas Eric McDowell.
Thomas Eric McDowell, 61, from North Carolina, was charged with murder, kidnapping, and the first degree. At the time, there was a fingerprint that police recovered. He was there was a photo lineup, and there were reports that he had made to other people about kidnapping a girl in Lexington. So all of that was compiled after years of investigations, years of doing interviews. I think more than 100 people were interviewed over the process of this case. So that was all used to finally make this arrest.
As I mentioned last summer when we first covered this case, investigators were working on it. They were calling it solvable. Now they're saying they solved it. But what exactly happened in that window of time? Do we know what that last piece of the puzzle was? Was it that fingerprint?
Police haven't told us what that defining element was that led to this arrest, but they did say that you looked at more than 3,500 case file pages that were reviewed there were FBI field officers involved in the re-examination of this case. We don't know what that little element might have been that pushed this case forward, but there was a lot of work that police have said have gone into this to finally make an arrest.
A fresh look was taken into the case just a few months ago. According to the FBI Columbia Special Agent Susan Forensic, the arrest is due in part to the many years of dedicated investigative work by local, state, and federal partners. She continued to say, quote, "Regardless of how long a child is missing, we will never stop searching for answers, and we hope that this arrest is a step towards healing for the Gutierrez's family." A warrant says a fingerprint helped make the connection, and McDowell was recognized in a police lineup.
When we last looked at this case, there was still some hope that Jessica Gutierrez might be alive, that maybe she was young enough when this happened, that even as an adult she might not remember it. But of course, with McDowell facing a murder charge, it sounds like that's no longer the hope. Do we know why exactly investigators are confident that this is, in fact, a murder case?
They haven't told us, Reed. So we are still unsure at this case, but it looks to be, like you said, a murder charge, the worst case scenario.
And of course, an arrest is not the end of the road. McDowell has not been convicted of anything. Is there any indication on when a trial might happen if this case does go to trial?
The questions we still have is he was arrested up in Raleigh, North Carolina. So the question is, will he be expedited down to here? We don't know those. We don't know when the trial will begin. We don't have any of that information as of yet. So that should be released in the days to weeks to come.
And what about an alleged motive? Have we heard anything on that front, or even about a possible connection between McDowell and the Gutierrez family?
We have not as of yet. So that's still something that we are working on to get information in regards to. So that part is still open for us.
This being a case that has touched so many people in the area, what does it mean for the investigators who've worked this case now to be able to announce an arrest?
Yeah, Reed, in a statement the police released last week when the arrest was made, Sheriff Jay Kuhn highlighted the significance this case being solved is to not only the police department, but for the community. Investigators have come and gone. Investigators have worked on this case tirelessly to get an answer for the Gutierrez family, and to be able to provide them with that, to provide them with some sort of closure, I think they feel really relieved at this point.
I know every unsolved case that we cover on this show, the hope is always that we'll start to get some answers soon. Eleanor Tabone with WLTX, thanks for coming on to share this update.
Absolutely.
And thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Daily Crime. We're right here with a new one every day of the week, Monday through Friday. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit subscribe or follow wherever you're listening right now. If you're looking for more podcasts, you can head over to vaultstudios.com for a full list of our shows that includes our weekly podcast, True Crime Chronicles. That'll do it for this one. Until next time, for Vault Studios, I'm Reed Redmond.